The last $10. The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of Central Station, casting long golden shadows across the polished marble floor. Sarah Chen adjusted her worn canvas bag on her shoulder and checked her phone for the third time. The 4:15 train to Portland would arrive in 20 minutes, and she had exactly enough money for the ticket home. She sat on a wooden bench near Platform 3, watching the steady stream of travelers hurry past. Business people in sharp suits clutched their phones, families dragged colorful suitcases behind excited children, and elderly couples moved slowly, arm in arm. The station hummed with the quiet energy of journeys beginning and ending. Sarah reached into her wallet and counted the bills one more time. 2 fives, $20 total, 10 for the train ticket and 10 for emergencies. It wasn't much, but it would get her home to her small apartment where a can of soup waited in the cupboard, and her cat, Whiskers, would be happy to see her. The job interview hadn't gone well. She could tell from the interviewer's polite but distant smile, the way he glanced at his watch twice during their conversation. "We'll be in touch," he had said. But Sarah knew better. She had been searching for work for 3 months now, since the bookstore where she worked for 5 years had closed down. Her savings were nearly gone, and this train ticket home would leave her with just $10 until something changed. A commotion near the ticket counter caught her attention. An older man was speaking rapidly to the clerk, gesturing with his hands. Even from a distance, Sarah could see the frustration in his movements. He wore a simple gray sweater and dark jeans. Nothing fancy, but something about his posture suggested he was used to problems being solved quickly. "I'm sorry, sir," the clerk's voice carried across the station. "Without proper identification, I cannot sell you a ticket. Company policy." The man ran his fingers through his silver hair. "My wallet was stolen from my hotel room this morning. Everything was in it. My driver's license, credit cards, everything. I just need to get home to Seattle." Sarah watched as the man pulled out his phone, presumably to make a call, but then shook his head in defeat. She could see him checking his pockets again, hoping to find something, anything that might help his situation. Without thinking, Sarah stood up and walked over to him. Her heart beat a little faster as she approached. She wasn't the type to involve herself in strangers' problems, but something about the man's quiet desperation reminded her of her own father, who had always helped others even when he had little to give. "Excuse me?" she said softly. The man turned to look at her, and she noticed his kind gray eyes, tired but intelligent. "I couldn't help but overhear. How much do you need for your ticket?" The man studied her face for a moment as if trying to determine whether she was sincere. "The ticket to Seattle costs $40, he said, "but I couldn't possibly ask a stranger for money. You're very kind to offer, though." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. $40 was twice what she had, but as she looked at this man, standing alone in a busy train station with no way to get home, she thought about all the times strangers had shown her small kindnesses. The coffee shop owner who had given her free pastries when she couldn't afford breakfast. The neighbor who had helped carry her groceries up 3 flights of stairs when she'd sprained her ankle. "I have $10, she said, reaching into her wallet. "It's not enough for your whole ticket, but maybe it will help." The man's eyes widened. "I can't take your money. You look like you need it more than I do." Sarah smiled, thinking of her empty refrigerator and the stack of unpaid bills on her kitchen table. "Maybe I do," she said honestly, "but sometimes we help each other anyway." She held out one of her $5 bills, then paused and pulled out both of them. "Here, take $10. Maybe you can call someone to send you the rest, or find another way. Sometimes a little help is enough to get things started." The man stared at the crumpled bills in her outstretched hand. For a moment, Sarah wondered if she had made a mistake. $10 was a lot to her right now. It was groceries for 2 days, or bus fare to job interviews, or the difference between paying her electric bill on time or having it shut off. But then the man's eyes filled with tears, and he carefully took the money from her hand. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You have no idea what this means to me. What's your name?" "Sarah Chen," she replied. "And you don't need to thank me. We're all just trying to get home." The man nodded slowly. "I'm David Morrison, and I will find a way to pay you back for this kindness." Sarah shook her head. "Don't worry about it. Just get home safely." She turned to walk back to her bench, feeling both lighter and more anxious than before. She had done the right thing, she was sure of that. But now she had only $10 to her name, and she still needed to buy her own ticket. 20 minutes later, as Sarah stood in line to purchase her ticket to Portland, she felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. She turned to see David Morrison standing behind her, smiling. "I wanted to catch you before you left," he said. He held out an envelope. "This is for you." Sarah looked at the envelope, confused. "What is it?" "Open it when you get home," David said. "And Sarah, I want you to know that your kindness today reminded me why I do what I do. Sometimes we get so focused on big problems that we forget about the simple act of helping one person at a time." Before Sarah could ask what he meant, David had melted back into the crowd of travelers. She tucked the envelope into her bag and bought her ticket, settling into a window seat as the train pulled away from the station. The countryside rolled past in shades of green and gold as Sarah dozed fitfully, wondering about the strange encounter. When she finally arrived home 3 hours later, Whiskers greeted her at the door with loud purrs and insistent head bumps. She fed her cat, made herself a cup of tea, and sat at her small kitchen table. The envelope David had given her was cream-colored and expensive-looking. Inside, she found a handwritten note and a check. The note read, "Dear Sarah, today you taught me something important about generosity. You gave what you could afford to lose to someone you didn't know, expecting nothing in return. I founded Morrison Technologies 30 years ago with the belief that small acts of innovation could change the world. But today I learned that small acts of kindness can change individual worlds just as powerfully. The enclosed check is not payment for your $10. It's seed money for whatever dreams you've been unable to pursue. Use it to change your own world. With gratitude, David Morrison." Sarah's hands trembled as she looked at the check. It was for $50,000. She sat in her quiet kitchen for a long time, watching the late afternoon sun fade into evening, thinking about trains and strangers and the unexpected ways that kindness travels through the world. Tomorrow, she would start making calls about the teaching program she had always wanted to enter. Tonight, she would simply hold on to the feeling that sometimes, when you give what little you have, the universe finds a way to give back. Whiskers jumped onto her lap, purring contentedly, and Sarah smiled. She was finally, truly, home.